The next topic is going to be loving me into, and I think that means the fellowship. And I have here to share from Columbus, Ohio, David M. David, would you let them know how much time you got?
Sure. Hey, my name's Dave.
Hi, Dave.
Oh my God, you're here. So happy. So this is an odd venue because we have a camera. So this is when I had about 60 to 90 days clean. I'm going to pass that around. So I'm an active Dave. My clean date is Halloween 1986, and I was 17 years old, just shy of 18, when I got clean. And that photograph is about a couple weeks, well, maybe a month after I turned 18. Maybe a month and a half. And so I got 33 years and some change, and about 2/3 of my life clean, and give or take, you know. And I'm nervous, man. I got to tell you, every time I get asked, and every time I get the opportunity, and every time I'm honored enough to be sharing at a Narcotics Anonymous event or speaker or as any kind of function, meeting, anything, I get nervous. And I think I figured it out a while ago. My sponsor asked me why, and I'm like, well, I don't really know. Well, I did some meditating last night, and I thought about it, and my biggest fear is fucking this up, you know. And last time I drove to Georgia to share, I came down to the East Coast Convention, and they changed my topic without telling me. And I was like, I'd never heard of that topic before. And I talked for about 10 minutes about everything I could think of on that topic. And I was done. I drove 1,000 miles each way and turned my ass around and went home. And felt like, what the hell did I just do? Because I fucked it all up. And so I'm going to start off by reading a couple things. And Narcotics Anonymous Narcotics Anonymous saved my life, and there's no two ways about that. Everything I have, everything I do, everything I own, everything I today is because of Narcotics Anonymous. I grew up in Narcotics Anonymous. The people in the fellowship taught me how to grow up and live this new way of life. And I'm going to read this out of Why Are We Here? We were searching for an answer when we reached out, and we found Narcotics Anonymous. We came to our first meeting in defeat and didn't know what to expect. And after sitting in a meeting or several meetings, we began to feel that people cared and were willing to help. And as you can tell, I get a little emotional. And although our minds told us that we would never make it, people in the fellowship gave us hope by insisting that we could recover. We found that no matter what our past thoughts or actions were, others had felt and done the same. Surrounded by, realized we're not alone anymore. Recovery is what happens in our meetings. Our lives are at stake. We found that by putting recovery first, the program works. And then it talks about the 3 disturbing realizations, and it goes on from there. Now, I was searching for an answer, and I don't know about you guys, but I thought my answer was in the dope, and I thought my answer was in the drugs. And I always felt like I was different. And I always felt like I was something other than who I was. I was supposed to be something else. I was supposed to be somebody else. My parents always told me that. Why do you act that way? How can you think that? Those key phrases that I grew up with were, why can't you just do it differently? Why can't you just be different? Why can't, so I always felt like I didn't belong. And I always felt like I didn't belong anywhere. And then I found dope. And this is what I want to do. And this is what I did, you know, and I found that. And when it stopped working, I kept trying and trying and trying new combinations until I just ended up in the slammer, you know, and I was locked up at 17 years old and thrown in a jail cell and to do detox in the cell. And I don't know if anybody relate with your body waking up at half an hour before you do, but I remember sleeping on the floor of the cell because it was a shorter fall from the cot, right? So, because I'd shake myself right off the damn cot. And so I got out of jail, and the judge sent me to this treatment center, and these H&I people come up to this treatment center, and I didn't know who they were, but they talked a little bit like me, and they looked a little bit like me, and they welcomed me, and they read these books and this literature, and they talked about the literature. They talked about Narcotics Anonymous. They talked about as an addict and how they felt and how they did things. And back in my mind, was in the front of me, I was saying these guys are stupid, and this is never going to work. In the back of my mind, it kept saying that there's something's there. Something's different, you know. So they took me to my first Narcotics Anonymous meeting, and I was court ordered to NA, and I didn't really want to go. And I just wanted to get high, and I didn't want nothing to do with y'all, and I didn't want nothing to do with. I just wanted to get high. So they took me to this meeting, and it was on a Friday night at 8:30, and it was called the Freedom Group. And so I go to this Freedom Group, and there's about 20 people in the room, and they go around the room and introduce themselves in the beginning of the meeting, and they would say stuff like so-and-so, and they called themselves an addict, and they would call themselves something else, and they didn't introduce themselves. And when they got all the way around the room to me, and my name's Dave, fuck you. And they gave me a standing ovation and told me to keep coming back and welcome home, and I was in the right place, and they didn't kick me out, and they didn't. And after the meeting, they actually, a couple of them actually came up to me and talked to me for a while, and the treatment center bus, you know, and the treatment center bus is like, we got to go, and they were like, just give us one more minute with this guy. So they talked to me, and one guy, he wrote down his phone number, and he says, just call whenever you get out, you know. And so I got back to the treatment center, and I thought about this, and I remember in the treatment center, they was like, and I'm not one of these people that endorse treatment centers. I'm just saying that this is where I went. That Narcotics Anonymous saved my ass, because they were there and came to the place I was being incarcerated at. And it was like I had a choice. Yeah, I could go to jail or I could stay there. So they had a hospital, and it was food, and better than jail food. And actually, I gained weight in jail, and I lost weight in the hospital because the hospital food, I thought it was going to be better food, and it wasn't. But anyway, I got involved with Narcotics Anonymous when I got out. I started going to meetings, and I went back to that same group. And there was people in that meeting that would say stupid stuff, the stupidest thing I ever heard in my life, like, you're too young to be here. And they'd say, well, how much could you have really used? And I got to tell you that I used enough. I used to wear this shirt. It had a symbol on it, you know, the service symbol, and right in the middle it said, I qualify. I can't measure that kind of pain, you know. I had to come up with some really neat little retorts to people like, well, if you wouldn't have lost so much, maybe you got here sooner. And, because they'd say stuff like, I lost more dope than you ever used. And, or, and there wasn't a whole lot of young folks when I got clean, but we had this little group of people that we hung out with, and we just hung on to each other. We went everywhere together. We had our 5 or 6 meetings or 10 meetings a week in the area, and maybe 15 or 20 in the surrounding areas that we would hit to. And every time we'd get an NAWA magazine, we'd look in the book and see what's coming up next and what we're going to. And we'd be sitting in a coffee house after the meeting, and we'd find out that, there's a convention going on in Atlanta, Georgia, and we just jump in the car and go, And I mean, hell, it's only 500 to 800 miles. Who cares? Let's go. And what happened was, I said, I really didn't want anything to do with Narcotics Anonymous when I got here, but the fellowship then, there was a few group of people, that core group that let's go. And I'd say stupid stuff like, I ain't got any money, because we didn't ask you for your money. Let's go. Let's go to the meeting. Let's go to the restaurant after the meeting. Let's go to the diner. Let's go to that dance or that event or that speaker jam or that. My sponsor would call me up at Saturday morning. He'd say, hey, we're going to go get some chili. You want to go? And I'm like, okay, let's go get some chili. It's 11 o'clock in the morning. And about 3 hours after he picked me up, we're still driving, and I'm like, what the restaurant are we going to for this chili? And we'd end up 500 miles away at some kind of event somewhere, And it's just what we did, and I try to instill that in the people that I do that with today, The fellowship of Narcotics Anonymous loved me in so much that they tricked me into having fun, and they tricked me into building relationships, and they tricked me into doing things I thought I'd never want to do, because I remember when I was, 15, 16 years old, thinking that my whole goal in life was to be as loaded as I could be forever. And then when I was about 16, somebody said, man, we got to quit doing this shit. And I was like, yeah, we got to quit doing this. And then I couldn't stop, and the next thing I knew, another year had gone by, and I was still saying, I got to stop, So being loved into Narcotics Anonymous, they just wrapped their arms around me, and they just held me, and taught me how to grow up. They taught me how to register my car. I'd never had a registered car before. I didn't have a driver's license. I didn't know how to go about getting it back. I didn't know when to change the sheets on the bed. I didn't know how to wash towels. I didn't know how to do laundry. I didn't know how to do anything. And the people in Narcotics Anonymous, this is how you do laundry. Oh my God. I don't do laundry anymore. I hate it. You know what? There's a lot of things in my life that I hate to do, and I do some of them, but there's certain things I said, I'll pay somebody to do it. Laundry is one of them. I throw all my shit in a car at one time, every 3 or 4 months, and I take it to the laundromat, and I say, do my laundry. And they charge me, and they do it, and it's clean, and I put it away. And when the pile gets this high again, I go do it again. And I hate it. You know what? I did 4th step. There's some things I'm good at. There's some things I ain't. I am not a carpenter. I know that. I am not a person that likes laundry. I don't like doing dishes. I know how to do things. I just don't like to do them. And you know what? I got a choice today. You know, when I don't have a choice, I'll do laundry again. So I got clean and I got involved in Narcotics Anonymous. I became a GSR, my home group. I did all that stuff at area service. I had a great time. I came down to Atlanta, Georgia, and I absolutely loved it. And I ended up moving here for a minute. I back in '88, and I got adopted into the fellowship down here, and they loved me right into here. And I spent a few months in Marietta, Georgia, and had a great time. And I learned a lot. I met some people and learned a lot. And I got some history instilled in my heart and my mind. And I tell you what, up until I had about 9 or 10 months clean, I really didn't know if I wanted to stay clean, you know. But I knew that I didn't want to go to jail, and I knew that every time, I mean, just by hanging around you guys long enough, just seeing the people that were coming around and then they weren't coming around and then they come back. You know what I mean? Those people that show up for 6 or 8 months and they're doing really well, and then they use and they come back a month later and they're like beat to heck and back. Just by watching those guys for the few months that I was around, I was like, I don't think I want to go that route. So I started talking to some people, and they were like doing some stuff. And I went to the World Convention Narcotics Anonymous in New Orleans in 1987, and I saw for the first time, and that was my first convention ever, right? And I saw for the first time Narcotics Anonymous on a worldwide scale, and how the love of the fellowship loved everybody, and we try not to leave people behind. And I remember this girl at the hotel, and this is, I don't know if she's still around, but I remember the girl at the hotel. She would welcome us to the hotel, and she was passing out cookies at the hotel, right? She's like, "Hi, welcome to the hotel. Here's some cookies." Well, you know, and the next, she was passing out cookies and hugs. And the next day, she picked up her first basic text. And the fellowship loved her into the fellowship too. And I realized at that moment that Narcotics Anonymous was something I'd probably end up doing. And I'm all in, all right? And I'm all in. And I got me a schedule. They had a world schedule. And if you've never seen one, they're really cool. And Kelly's got one, and I want it back. And I hitchhiked around the country for about 2 years with the world schedule. And I went to meetings all over the damn place. And I tell you what, if your home group was in the world schedule, you never closed that meeting. You know, I don't care if it was a tornado, a tsunami, a 16 foot of snow, that meeting was open. And I went to those meetings all over the damn country, and I met a lot of people. And what happened was that every time I'd go somewhere with my backpack, and I'd say I'm from Ohio, and I'm just hitching through to meetings across the country, people would invite me into their homes and give me a place to stay, and they loved me anyway. And some of them even said, "You need a shower." And they loved me enough to take me home to get a shower so I didn't smell, you know, because real love in Narcotics Anonymous is hugging that newcomer when he smells, right, and then hugging him when he leaves too. And so I got involved, and I moved to Columbus, Ohio. I had about 7 years clean, and I tell you what, if you ever get the chance to move to another area, another region, and they don't do things just right, the same, it's a real culture shock. It's a real it's an innate culture shock. It's almost like, how do you guys even stay clean here? You know, and anybody feel that way? You know, and I was like, my God, these people are crazy. And I tell you, I hated it. I absolutely hated the meetings in Columbus. And And I got clean in Akron, Ohio, and we fought and fought and fought to get NA strong there. And some of you guys might know why. And, when I moved to Columbus, it was, I mean, there was a lot more meetings, a lot more people. It felt a little more cliquey. And I learned a real big lesson. What I would do was I'd go to meetings there and I didn't talk to a lot of people, and I would go home to Akron, Ohio to meetings and share my feelings and my recovery and try to get some recovery. And then I'd come back to where I lived, which I didn't consider my home, and go to meetings and detest the people and detest the meetings and I would complain. And then I'd go back to my home area and get recovery. And I tell you, I didn't get any recovery in Columbus until I made Columbus my home. That was a big lesson. I had to do meeting a day every day for 90 days again. Then I had to do a meeting a day every day for 60 days again. Then I had to do a meeting a day every day for 30 days again. And then I had to get a home group. And then I had to get involved in area service. And I got hip deep in area service. And I had to. It was for my own survival. Because I couldn't stand it there. I couldn't stand it. You know, and if you're ever in that situation, God help you, you know, call me. I'll talk about it, because I felt the same way. Because I mean, wherever I've moved, anytime I've moved, they've always done things differently. I mean, even traveling around the country, you go to a meeting that you've never been to before, it's like, what are they doing? You know? And I remember going to a meeting in some podunk little town somewhere in Tennessee, and they're announcing outside issues, and they're announcing this, and I thought, that's an outside issue. That's an outside issue. That's an outside issue. And the chairperson looks at me and said, we don't care. I'm like, oh my God. You know, and I just want to smack them with a book. And I got involved. After I'd been in Columbus for about 7 or 8 years and 9 years, I went through a big deal with my relationship and my wife, and we were getting separated and things were going on, and I was going to meetings and all I could do was cry, and I didn't even share on topics and try to keep it to the topic, and tears be streaming down my eyes, and I'd go to a couple meetings, and the people that I knew that I wasn't really close to, they'd just come up and say, what's wrong, you know, and I'd tell them what's going on. But I really wasn't getting that much solution. But I tell you what, man, I go to the meetings, and 99% of these newcomers were like under 30 days clean, and there's 25 or 30 of them in this meeting. And they come up to me after the meeting and said, we don't know what's going on, Dave, but we just hope you stay clean through it. And they just held on to me and let me cry. They didn't care what was wrong. They just said, just stay clean. And loved me back in the fellowship there too. Because I was ready to give up. I wasn't ready to get you like go get loaded or anything like that. I was just ready to say, screw all you people, you know. And I don't know if you ever get there. I mean, I've been here 33 years. If I haven't said screw all you people more than once, you know, maybe I haven't been hanging around the right people, you know. I don't know. I get frustrated just as much as anybody else does. You guys in Narcotics Anonymous just keep loving me, you know, even when you know, and somebody was talking earlier about finding something that ain't theirs, you know, and I'm like, I've been there. I had 21, 22 years clean. I found a credit card out in the parking lot of a supermarket, and I'm like, broke, and it's a gold card. And I'm like, I bet it works. And it did. And about 30 seconds after I filled up my truck, I'm like, oh my God, what did I just do? And I didn't think about it long enough. I didn't talk to anybody about it. And I'll tell you what I did after that is I felt like about that big. I felt like a hypocrite. I felt like a thief. I felt like a liar. And I don't like them feelings. And so this is the next step I had to do. There was a little phone number on the back of that credit card. I had to call the credit card company and said, this is what I did. I'm sending you a check. I'm sending you a check so you can credit their account. Now I'm going to tell you to cut up this card. And I'm also going to send you a check for any inconvenience fees. And I sent him a check. Actually, it was a money order. So it was a money order with no return address. Just for my personal safety. So, but that, you know what? I mean, that's kind of stuff that Narcotics Anonymous has taught me how to be responsible. You know, that kind of stuff, that's 10-step stuff there. That's promptly admitting it. Yeah, I screwed it up bad. I felt this big for too long, and it was like 10 minutes. God, I can't handle that kind of guilt anymore. You know, I mean, back in the day, you could. I took somebody's tire off their car because I had a flat, and it was the same kind of car. When I was using, I didn't feel guilty at all about that. At least I left him a rim. You know, we could justify anything, right? So, but I tell you what, I as soon as I did that, bang, done. My heart was hurt. My spirit was broken. I love Narcotics Anonymous. I don't know if you could tell. So about 12 years ago, all right? So this is like current kind of stuff now we're going on to today. Narcotics Anonymous is still my home, my love, my life. My wife is involved. Not anymore. My wife is no longer involved in Narcotics Anonymous. I miss that. I wish I knew how to tell her that I wish she was back, and she is not going to come back to Narcotics Anonymous. Not today. She loves the program, the steps, the book, the literature. She hates you guys. She hates the fellowship. She can't see the growth. She can see the pain and negativity. It's okay. She can see the drama. There's drama. You work with newcomers, you're going to have drama. I was working a strange schedule. I couldn't figure out what kind of meetings I liked. I kept having home groups I really didn't feel home at. I really didn't like them. I talking to this guy, I'm like, we work such a strange schedule. I get home from work at 7 or 8 o'clock at night. By the time I eat, get the kids, taken care of, it's time to go to bed. The mountain meetings are over. We need a later meeting. So we started this 10:30 meeting 3 days a week, 10:30 at night. People said it's never going to make it. People said, you're crazy. We had 21 people the first night. I got flyers out. Flyers are important. Communication, right? A few months later, we got a whole bunch of people there, right? We got 45 people coming in on a Friday night, 10:30 at night. After a while, they says, we want more meetings. How about Tuesday and Thursday? They said, okay, we'll do that 11:30 at night. Okay, we first called it better late than never, right? So better late than never. And then 11:30 come around, they called it even later is better, right? And after a while, it kind of morphed into 5 days a week. And then they moved it all to 10 o'clock at night, and it's still a better late than never group. And about 2 or 3 years ago, 4 years ago, three or 4 years ago, somebody said, how about we do Sundays too? Okay, let's do Sundays too, 6 days a week, right? And about 8 years ago, we started having this little anniversary party called the Spaghetti Sling. And what we do is we take a whole bunch of spaghetti and we vote on people with money. You have paper votes, and it's a fundraiser for the service structure. And we dump a big giant bowl of spaghetti on somebody. And there's two of us in this room that have gotten the spaghetti, and there's one that's going to get it next time. And maybe. And last year, what we raised last year? $2,000 last year. And the year they dumped it on me was $2,400. And we do it one night, dumping spaghetti on somebody's head. And we bought some billboards and H&I literature, and a bunch of stuff like that over the last few years. And we raised a ton of money throwing $10 or $20 worth of food on somebody, you know, and saving lives. And nothing else has gave me, I was part of helping start the meeting, but I didn't do it. You guys did it, right? So the fellowship did it, but I tell you what, that group has been nothing more than a home group than any other group I've ever had. You know, that group has loved me more than anything in my whole recovery in the 33 years I've been here. And that is the whole thing, is that just because I've been here a while, and just because people have been here a while, I mean, we got a lot of people here with a lot of time at this event, a lot of clean time here. But you know what? We just need to love too. We don't forget about us, you know? And I talk about this now and then. I make a lot of phone calls. I make probably 40 calls a week. My phone don't ring, but once every couple of days, maybe once a week, you know? And I'm just wondering what the hell I'm doing wrong. Sometimes I think it's something wrong with Dave. You know, it probably ain't, but that's where the disease takes me. Right? Now, I was at an event a couple years. This is how bad this disease is. It's not that I want to get high. It hits me. I don't know if it hits you somewhere else first. It always hits me somewhere else first. It hits me in the heart. And it hits me in my self-esteem. It hits me in my worth. How worthy am I? It hits me in my self-worth and myself. It hits hard, all right? So I'm at this convention a couple years ago, and I'm the midnight speaker, and I'm the third speaker at midnight. Right? And we're talking about youth and recovery. And since I got clean in my youth, I was the third speaker with the most time, and the recording stopped recording because it was out of time, because the other two speakers spoke first, right? But that's okay. It's okay if the recording got cut off, but what got me and what threw me way off my square was the guy that was recording just walked right up in the middle of the room, up the aisle, took the microphone and the recorder while I was speaking. And I kept going. I'm like, what the hell is this about? And about 5 minutes before I was done, I says, you know, I got to say something. I was like, that was got to be the rudest goddamn fucking thing I've ever seen, Narcotics Anonymous. And it threw me off so bad that I just wanted to give up on all y'all. About 2 weeks later, it was still in my heart that I wasn't even worth going to the damn meetings anymore. And I was talking about it, and it was still on my head like that, you know. And that's how some little actions that we do can screw with somebody's head. Well, that's their program, they say. Well, yeah, it is. But you know what? Have some courtesy. You know, have some courtesy. You know, when I was new, they taught me, Narcotics Anonymous members in the fellowship loved me enough to teach me a little bit of etiquette. You know, a little bit of etiquette. You know, if somebody's speaking at the podium, stay until they're done. If somebody's late coming in, go straight to your seat and don't make a ruckus, you know. stuff like that. Turn your phone off. Stuff like that, you know? If you're gonna have to look at your phone, keep it on silent. If it's a candlelight meeting, leave it off. There's certain things that we learned as when I was new as etiquette, and that's part of love too. You know, that's part of the fellowship loving me was teaching me how to respect you so I can get some respect myself. And I think that's about all I got to say right now. And I really appreciate the opportunity to come down here and share. And thank you so much for loving me.
All right. All right, everybody, my name is Dennis. I'm still an addict. Let's give me another round of applause. So we're gonna circle up and close with the third step prayer. James.
Oh, yeah, so you today. What's today? We jumped up here right just in time.
So moment of silence for the addict suffering in and out of this circle. On the third step prayer. God, show me how to live. Who knows the Thursday prayer? Thank you. What's up, brother? What's up, brother?